Welcome to this last Epoch explanation of affixes and modifiers. In this video, we will go over a quick explanation of the most common affixes and modifiers in the game. These will be broken down into offensive and defensive affixes. Note in the game you can press G to access the in-game wiki, which explains every keyword and item in the game. Offensive affixes and modifiers. First up are the damage modifiers. Damage scales in last epoch via added damage and increased damage. Added damage is additive while increased damage is multiplicative. Added and increased damage stack based on the damage type before total damage is calculated. When using multiple types of damage, it can be more difficult to scale damage because of this formula. In the example shown here, an item that provided added fire and melee damage plus increased fire and melee damage, you must first multiply added and increased of each damage type before adding them together to see your total damage. Next up are critical modifiers. Critical damage at base deals double damage when it procs. You can increase how often crit procs and how much more damage it does with increased critical strike chance and added critical strike multiplier modifiers. Crits do not increase ailments or damage from dots. Crit chance can max out to 100%, so all hits crit, but enemies can utilize buffs and debuffs to reduce crit chance. Rogue has a special crit debuff they can apply to enemies, increasing crit chance on them, which makes it the best crit class. Last Epoch has a bunch of buffs and debuffs that can be applied to and from any character and enemy in the game. These can be used to increase damage done and reduce damage taken for specific damage types. The three main damage scaling buffs/debuffs are Shred, which stacks to 4 and shreds a specific damage resistance of an enemy such as armor, then Penetrate, which stacks up to 75% penetration of a specific elemental resistance, and Increased Damage Taken, which increases damage taken in an additive way and can stack with Shred and Penetrate. The next damage type is damage over time, or DOT, often created via an ailment which we'll get to later. Dots tick damage per second over a period of time and can be scaled via increased dot damage, dot stacks, and dot duration. They can also benefit from Shred, Penetrate, and increased damage taken. However, dots cannot be scaled by crit. Example of dot scaling would be physical damage over time, also known as bleed. Examples for scaling Phys are shown here. Ailments are the next damage modifier, which typically go with dots. The most common ailment types are Bleed, Poison, Ignite, Frostbite, Electrify, and Decay. Further ailments can be found on the lastepochtools.com website. You can scale ailment application chances, and most major dots via ailments are uncapped. The next damage modifiers are attack and cast speed. You will typically find these as weapon affixes. Note that dual wielders utilize the average of their two weapons, so keep this in mind when playing a dual wielding class. Base attack and cast speed is based on average of skill and weapon speed and can be increased by increased speed modifiers. Note that some skills won't increase in speed, and it will be stated as such. Another damage modifier is conversion. Conversion allows you to convert damage from one type to another, such as fire to cold. Note that damage conversion means modifiers to specific damage types still apply to the specific type, so full and partial conversions both work. Next up are minion modifiers. This video won't deep dive into minions, but any affixes or modifiers for minions will specifically state as such. You will see verbiage such as minion, companion, totems, ballistas, allies, shared, you and minions, and so on. All minion modifiers use the same rules and formulas as player modifiers. Next up are defensive modifiers and affixes. Health and ward modifiers are used to protect against all damage sources. Health provides you with life or hit points. This is the total pool of health you have, and you will die when it hits 0. Health can be scaled and regenerated via multiple sources such as leech, on hit, on kill, on dodge, or passive regeneration. Ward provides a shield on top of health, but it decays over time. Ward can also be scaled and generated via multiple sources, but is typically best on 4 of the classes. Next up are resistance and armor modifiers. Resistances stack up to 75% each and provide a flat reduction to each damage type listed on the character sheet: cold, fire, lightning, physical, poison, necrotic, and void. It's important to keep your resistances positive throughout the game and should always be capped in the endgame. Armor provides a higher reduction to physical damage taken and a slight reduction to other damage sources. However, armor has no effect on dots or ailments and provides little resistance against higher-level enemies, so armor stacking in the endgame isn't as viable. Dodge and endurance modifiers are the next 2 defensive modifiers. Dodge scales from chance to dodge modifiers and provides a random chance to avoid being hit. Dodge caps at 85% but has diminishing returns after 75%. Dodge has no effect on dots or ailments. Endurance is a unique defensive mechanic in that it provides damage mitigation at a certain health threshold. Endurance protects against all damage sources including dots and ailments, but it only triggers when the health threshold occurs. The threshold starts at 20% health by default, but can be scaled via added and increased endurance modifiers. Endurance is used to protect against being one-shot by big attacks. Block is the next defensive modifier. It reduces damage on hits and has no effect against dots or ailments. Block effectiveness scales how much damage is reduced and block chance scales to how likely it triggers. Shields are best for block affixes. Block chance can scale to 100%, but block effectiveness caps at 85%. Critical defense, stun avoidance, and damage reduction are all different forms of defensive modifiers in the game. Crit defense simply reduces crit damage taken and can scale to 100%, which is crit avoidance. Stun avoidance is the chance to avoid being stunned, which also caps at 100% stun avoidance. Reduced or less damage taken is a flat reduction to damage taken but does not affect dots or ailments. Finally, we have debuffs or curses which can be applied to attacking enemies to reduce their damage output. Frailty reduces an enemy's damage output by 6% up to 18% reduction. Chill reduces enemy action speed, which slows down their attack by 12% up to 36%. Blind makes enemies unable to crit. Stun will lock an enemy from moving or attacking but is less effective against bosses which are typically stun immune.